In 2016, investigators are confronted with a strange situation. An Atlanta lawyer named Tex McIver explains that after a day of golf and drinking, he accidentally shot and killed his wife Diane as the couple were being driven in a car by their friend Danny Joe Carter. He says this was simply a horrible accident, but prosecutors allege Tex intended to kill Diane over money, including the fact that he owed her $350,000. While Tex would be charged with murder, a careful look at the evidence begs the question, is it really? First, there's the issue of why McIver was holding the gun.
I was asleep. Okay. It'd been a long day for me that night. The next thing I remember is we're going down. And then a turn was made. I said, girls, where are we and what's happening here? Right. I quickly said, this is a big mistake and we're in a place that we don't belong. Right.
The area that they're talking about is sort of in the downtown Atlanta area. It is known for being an area where a lot of homeless people do congregate. That time of night, Tex McIver says he looks out the window and sees homeless people and is fearful that there might be a carjacking or something along those lines.
I said, I'd like to, if you don't mind, please hand me my gun. Right. And it was in the center console. So Diane reaches in, pulls it out, hands it back to me.
And then you give him the gun, and then he lays back, and according to him, he falls asleep. What? Like, I'm so scared, I want you to give me my gun, but as soon as you give me the gun, I'm gonna go to sleep.
I guess I just laid back again and went to sleep. Okay. Danny Joe came to a stop, and I was handling the gun. And I realized it was in my lap, right, and it went off. Okay.
The argument was that he woke up stunned. He didn't kind of know where he was and pulled the trigger, not realizing what was going on, and then didn't remember. Now, some may say, well, that's kind of a cockamamie, story. I don't really believe it. But there's an argument to be made that it's just as possible that happened than that he made a decision in the back of the vehicle to shoot and kill his wife over finances.
I mean, how long did you shoot the gun?
Oh, I didn't discharge that gun in a couple of years.
You ever taken any, safety classes or anything like that?
No.
All we can really tell at the autopsy is the track of the bullet through the person's body. The pathway, as the medical examiner described it, was back to front, right to left, and slightly downward.
We hired an expert reconstructionist. When you look at that trajectory, it's a straight line. You can easily position McIver's arm at the time that the gunshot was fired, and you know that it wasn't in his lap, like he said.
I made the judgment that Emory was the closest hospital.
Because Tex McIver was an employment litigator, he had Grady before in litigation. He knew that their reputation was that they were the best level 1 trauma center in this part of the country. You are a mere few blocks away from Grady, and that's not where you go. In order to take Danny Joe on this long, winding journey through the city to try to get to Emory University Hospital, which is not a trauma center, that's a research hospital, because he didn't want her to survive. Don't want her to survive, and it worked.
Then again, if this was all part of McIver's master plan, some things don't seem to add up.
In cases where you would want someone to die quickly, shooting them in the abdomen is not really the way to go.
Why on earth wouldn't he have shot her in the head, where it's guaranteed that she's going to die? The last thing on earth you'd want is to have your wife so injured that you're going to spend the rest of your life paying for her medical bills.
If this was in fact an accident, Tex McIver sure didn't help his case. The peculiar things he does after the shooting are what lead prosecutors to believe this was murder, like when he doesn't immediately call 911. Instead, the first call he makes is to his attorney.
His immediate thought process was, what do I need to do to protect myself? How can I get away with this? If you are truly an innocent person, you are not calling your lawyer first.
Tommy Lee is set. Sir, let me just be plain. Danny is about to send me to prison. Please erase this voicemail message, but call me right away. Y'all have no idea the problem this is causing. It's innocent, but it's absolutely nuclear for me. Please call me.
I got to make sure that I don't suffer any criminal consequence to this. So I'm gonna have to get to Danny Joe. And I'm thankful that they preserved that information on their voicemail, because otherwise nobody would have believed it.
In 2018, a Georgia jury had a difficult decision to make. Do they find Claud Tex McIver guilty of murdering his wife Diane when he shot her from the back seat of a moving car? On one hand, McIver's defense team presented evidence that this was an accident when McIver was startled awake in the car. They also highlighted how it was illogical that a man would intentionally kill his wife in public with a witness present, namely the couple's friend Danny Joe Carter, who is driving the vehicle. On the other hand, the prosecution highlighted problems in the couple's marriage. They argued Tex had a financial motive to kill his wife, and they said he pointed the gun directly at Diane. After several days of deliberations, the jury reached a verdict.
On count 1, murder, we find the defendant not guilty.
The first count in the indictment was malice murder, and the verdict was not guilty. So it was like, oh. But
on count 2, felony murder, we find the defendant guilty of felony murder.
I know the defense was real disappointed, but I thought the evidence, was pretty clear.
The jury also found McIver guilty of aggravated assault, a felony firearms charge, and influencing a witness. But did the jury make the right decision here?
There was definitely some confusion there. Malice murder would pretend that somebody intentionally tried to kill somebody, which was what the prosecution was saying all along. But they came back and convicted him on felony murder, with the underlying assumption being that he intentionally shot his wife to wound her, which was a little curious because the prosecution never really put that case on.
The jury convicted Tex McIver, and while at sentencing, he explained his love and devotion to his wife.
Darling, you have brought me more joy and fulfillment that few men on this earth have ever known. Thank you until we are together again.
Judge Robert McBurney sentenced McIver to life in prison and left him with some harsh words.
I didn't ever hear you say you're sorry for what you did. To me, that silence speaks volumes.
Whatever may have been the ultimate reasoning, Claud Tex McIver was convicted, and he was sentenced to life behind bars.